time. Are we working this time? We are. Okay, good. So that was take two. Hey guys, Amanda Winchester here, back for the 2 of your blue light online mini series. We are talking about the effects of blue light. Yesterday we talked about what blue light was, and I'm just going to click go live on Facebook. Give me 1 second. All right, so now we are live officially on YouTube and Facebook. So once again, guys, this is day 2 of the Blue Light Effect, your online mini series right here live with your healthy lifestyle coach, Amanda Winchester, joining you live from Sherwood Park, Alberta. Thank you for joining me for day 2. If you've caught day 1, drop a 1 in the comments. And if you haven't yet caught that, you can catch the replay on YouTube or through the event on Facebook. And you can drop a replay or whatever you want in the comments there. And if you need a link to that, let me know, say link, and I'll get that to you. But guys, I'm going to jump right in. So today we're actually talking about what blue light is actually doing to our bodies. Now, I mentioned kind of briefly yesterday in last night's video about the different types of things that can happen. But I wanted to kind of dive into that a little bit more because I know a lot of you had questions. A lot of you were commenting, which is great. And I want those questions to pour in because that can help me make sure that you guys are getting all the information needed in addition to what I've already presented to you and have ready to present to you. And if you, some of you are reaching out by messenger, and that's fantastic too. So please keep those questions coming. I'm here to help you and make sure that this, we get you and your family and your loved ones healthier. So guys, for prolong, I wanted to kind of talk about some stats for a second. I know, right? But this kind of put it into perspective for me. So I hope that it helps put it into perspective for you as well. So prolonged exposure stats, the most recent ones that I could find, state that 68% of adults in the US, we're going to use the US because they tend to do the most studies, own a smartphone. And so if US is doing it, probably safe bet that it's North America wide, if not international. 45% of them also own a tablet. And this is where it gets kind of scary, guys. 86% of people within the age range of 18 to 29 own or use a smartphone, okay? And that is a lot of exposure. 83% of ages 30 to 49 own or use a smartphone. 72% of children 0 to 8 years old use or own a smartphone. Or sorry, use mobile devices, not own, sorry. Let's back up. Use a smartphone for videos or some type of device, computers too, for videos or gaming. That's a lot of screen time, guys. And I'm going to talk about the effects on our children, which is even greater than ours in just a few minutes. 93% of teens are using mobile devices and own or use a computer either at home or at school. So that is a lot of exposure, guys. Those are like mind-blowing, like if you didn't know the percentages. So again, 86%, 83%, 72%, and 93% of our teens. Like, how crazy is that? That's really, really scary. Drop scary in the comments if that doesn't kind of blow your mind in the fact that of the health issues that can come with that, which we're going to be kind of diving into more in depth today. Now, yesterday, while we talked about kind of briefly the different effects and what blue light was, today where we're diving into the actual health issues that come from that and kind of why and how behind the scenes. And then tomorrow, the same time, 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to be joining you again to provide you with tips to reduce the effects that it's having on your body. And then on Sunday at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to be also providing you with healthy alternative and choices for things that you can do. Like I'm going to actually walk you through some setting changes that you can do on your cell phone, on your computer. There's different devices that you can purchase to help protect your family. Now, this isn't foolproof. That's why tomorrow, day 3, is going to be talking about the tips to minimize that exposure, because we are going to all be continuously exposed to it, unfortunately. And it's really important, I think, to educate you guys on how to minimize that exposure. And it's not as simple. I know a lot of people were commenting on the other video yesterday yesterday, like, oh, I bought the glasses, and that is fantastic, but that's only like a tiny percentage, unfortunately, of the protection that you guys need to be doing for yourself and your loved ones. So we're going to be getting into all of that. I know it's really exciting, and you want to skip ahead, and a lot of you want to do that, and that's great. I love the enthusiasm, but just bear with me. We're going to go through this step by step so that you don't get overwhelmed and that you get all the information that I feel that you rightfully deserve to know. Because again, this is not something that a lot of people are talking about, and you have to just kind of, like, some people, like I said, don't even know, haven't even heard the term of blue light. So now we're going to get into the nitty gritty. Are you ready? Drop ready in the comments. And also, if you haven't already, let me know if you're catching me live or replay. And if you're watching from YouTube or Facebook, I'd love to know. So drop Facebook or YouTube in the comments as well. So guys, natural daylight blue light, okay, that's one of the 7 color spectrums that create white light and create, like I was talking yesterday about the different colors. That's not a bad thing. That is something that our body naturally needs. Obviously, you don't want to have overexposure because it can do damaging things to your skin, as you know, which I'm not going to be talking about the UV and all that stuff. Today, we're focusing only on this mini-series is focusing on the blue light effects. Now, blue light, though, in short amounts, small amounts, healthy doses, allow us, our body, to become, boost our energy. It gives us that alertness, and it boosts even our mood, which is great, right? That's why they have blue light therapy. And again, like I said, I'm not against it, but I do think it's important for you guys to know that overexposure of that is not a good thing. But we're not talking about the blue light therapy. I want you to talk about the blue light that is we're being exposed to in our everyday life. And this unnatural version, not the natural part that comes from the sun or therapies, those are things, different topics altogether. Although, of course, those are part of the blue light exposure that we're, some of us are getting, and all of us through the sun, of course. We are focusing on those negative ones that are artificial. Now, one thing a lot of people don't realize is, okay, why is, some questions were, why is the blue light exposure, the artificial, worse than the natural one from the sun? Because a lot of people, probably you are included in that. I know I was, to always hear that, like, wear the sunglasses, which is very important. I'm not discrediting that, and the effects of the sunlight. But like I said, very few people are talking about this unnatural blue light that all of us are being exposed to through LED lights, fluorescent lighting, our computers, our tablets, our cell phones, our televisions, all these things, guys, like devices everywhere, right? Everywhere, in our hands, in our pockets, like everywhere. And so the problem with the difference kind of between the two, not getting ahead of myself, but the difference between the two is not just the fact that one's natural and one's unnatural. It's also about the close proximity to our eyes and our bodies. That's the biggest issue here, and that's what I'm physically addressing or verbally addressing for you guys through this mini series. That's what I want you to understand, is that the reason why this is so serious is because of the fact that we are increasing our exposure every single day. Like, all of us are just increasing it. Society's increasing it. They're putting in the different types of LED lighting. Schools are starting to focus a lot more on computers. Some of the schools, even out here in Alberta, are encouraging students to bring in tablets and their cell phones and things like that to teach them through mobile classrooms in addition to the physical classroom. These are serious choices. I mean, the exposure to that is mind-blowing, and it really, really is scary when you really start to think of the effects and the exposure that our children especially, and ourselves included, are being exposed to on an increased basis. I mean, these things are wonderful. I don't want to say that they're not. I love the fact that it's, our son can do what they call Google Classroom. I don't know, let me know, drop a Google Classroom if any of your students are using that. It's a really great tool. It allows them to tap into their classwork even from home, which is really great, especially if, they are out sick or there's extra work that they want to do. However, again, it's making that extra exposure that they don't need otherwise. So I'm just going to flip my paper here, guys. Just want to make sure I don't miss anything for you guys, because sometimes, like I said, I go off on tangents, so I don't want to do that. Now, artificial blue light prolonged exposure. Sometimes it's a little bit worse at night, and I'm going to explain why. At night, it disrupts your sleep routines because of the fact that your body is used to, we're created in such a way that I mentioned briefly yesterday, where our minds and our bodies actually start kind of going into that sleep mode, and lowering the alertness, lowering the moods and everything like that, and allowing our body to start easing into sleep. And so if we are on our computer and our television or our cell phone and all of these things before bed, what it's doing is it's creating this alertness in our body, and it's lowering our levels of melatonin. And that melatonin needs to be higher in order for us to have proper levels of sleep. And that is a really serious thing, which I'm going to go into in just a few minutes, as to the physical effects that that is having on our body. It's much more than just waking up tired. That's just a tiny little fraction, unfortunately, of what disrupting our sleep schedule is happening. And I know, guys, if drop a nightstand or whatever beside or down in the comments if you also maybe you still are. I've stopped, thankfully, because of this research and stuff, but I was noticing that if I had my cell phone beside my bed, I was more apt to hear notifications. I was more apt to be looking at my phone, especially if I felt like I wasn't tired yet. Can you relate to that? Drop relate in the comments. And what happens is we're actually doing ourselves a disservice, because the fact, not only is it robbing us of the sleep, because our eyes are now, our eyes and our brain and our melatonin's lowering, and our cortisol and our adrenaline is starting to increase, because our body is thinking, oh, we're supposed to be awake. I see the blue light. I'm supposed to be awake. I'm supposed to be thinking, all this stuff. And all of a sudden you're like wide awake again, right? Or you wake up in the next morning and you're exhausted and you're like, but I had 8 hours of sleep. How is this possible? Maybe I had 10 hours of sleep. I know, I've been there. And what we don't realize is that watching television right before bed, or checking our phone and our emails, or being on social media right before bed, it's exposing our bodies and our eyes, which are windows to our health, through this blue light, through all this exposure. And it's if you can't tell, I'm passionate about this because it's something that we have control over. So first of all, that's the hope that I want to give you guys today. That piece of hope is you have control over how much exposure you have to this artificial blue light. And so that means that you are in control of a lot of health issues that you may be experiencing, and you could decrease them. Now, the sad part is, we're going to now skip into the eye health. The sad part is that a lot of this exposure, especially in our children's eyes are still developing, of course, just as anything in their body. And we have a cellular wall that usually blocks UV and blue light. And this wall takes quite a few years to thicken and create its whole self, its whole substance. And I'm not going to go into the details of that, because I truthfully couldn't explain to you if I wanted to, because I'm not an expert in that area. But what happens is, those things, it allows, when you have children that are exposed to that, when they have, the wall is still starting to develop, they're being exposed to even higher doses of this blue light, because their eyes are unable to physically block it. And that means that they are increasing their likelihood of getting cataracts, which is something that a lot of people get as they are aging. They have premature aging and degeneration, macular degeneration. You probably heard of that term before. And so it is creating this, eye doctors you can look this up just to verify it if you don't believe me. Eye doctors and all of those optometrists and specialists are seeing a huge increase in the premature aging of our eyes, and the main part of it is because of the overexposure to blue light, through overuse of the UV, or the LEDs, the fluorescent lighting, and then all of the screen time that we're getting between our televisions and our computers and our mobile devices. And so these are things that I really want you guys to think about when you are, working at home or working at the office, or you could be unplugging with the family after work is done, or after they're home from school. And decreasing that time is so detrimental to your health. And I'm going to get into the physical side of things in just a moment. The other thing that optometrists are noticing is there's been an increase in nearsightedness. So that means a lot more people are having to have glasses and contacts, myself included, due to the overexposure. It also is damaging our photoreceptor cells, which again, not going to go into the scientific version of that. However, basically, in layman's terms, you're really doing your eyes just a disservice by doing irreversible damage by allowing yourself and your loved ones to have this overexposure of screen time. Now, you may be also noticing eye strain. Eye strain, you could be having fatigue and dry eyes, soreness and irritation, difficulty focusing. All of these are symptoms of overexposure to the blue light. Now, when we jump into the physical health side of things, I mentioned earlier about the adrenaline and cortisol. Now, this invades our bloodstream, guys. And so when we're getting blue light exposure, regardless of whether it's at night or during the daytime, it doesn't matter what time of day it is. Like if you're thinking, okay, well, maybe it just means I need to minimize my exposure at night. No, you need to minimize your exposure overall, day or night, it doesn't matter. At night, it's just interrupting your sleep patterns and things like that, which I'm going to tell you some more information on that in just a moment. However, even during the day, it's causing you to have this adrenaline and cortisol shots through your body. I did a video about this several months ago about the negative effects of having high levels of cortisol in your body. It physically attacks your immune system. So you're limiting your body's ability to fight natural diseases and illnesses within your body by allowing this high levels of adrenaline and cortisol to rush into your bloodstream. And the reason why it's doing that is, again, because those things are prevalent. Like it's a fight or flight is what cortisol basically is, and the same thing with adrenaline, right? That's like how the strongmen come in and they're able to like lift cars off of people that are pinned underneath. It's this rush of energy, and while it's great in short bits, it's not good overall. And so every time we're exposed to blue light, we're getting this invading our bloodstream. And you can just imagine the negative effects that is having on our immune system and our overall health. Now, also what this does is it affects our sleep. It contributes to things like depression. When you're getting lack of sleep, you're unable to concentrate and focus. You have a less it lowers your mood because of the fact that you're lowering that level of melatonin, and that melatonin is what helps combat that adrenaline and cortisol levels, okay? And so by increasing those things, you're also, like I said, decreasing the amount of sleep that you're getting and the level of depth of your sleep. So if you're sleeping, but again, you're waking up feeling, malaised, and you're feeling really draggy and weak and unrested, there probably is directly related to the amount of screen time and blue light that you're being exposed to. So like I said, I'm not going to keep wanting to go into the tips on getting out of that, but tomorrow we're going to be diving into that. The other thing that I mentioned yesterday is the fact that it can contribute to diabetes and heart issues. Lack of sleep. Some people, like I'm a sleep advocate. This is no secret. I talk about this all the time with my clients and my community, my hope seekers. Sleep is so important, guys. And if you are forcing your kids to wake up on a Saturday morning or a weekend because you think that they should be up and they shouldn't be sleeping, again, you're doing them a disservice. They need, and you need, the permission to sleep as long as your body needs to. And if you're finding that your kids are waking up and yourself are waking up for work or school in the morning, and you're finding that you are dragging and you're not really able to kick it into gear, then again, the two things I would recommend is, one, starting to adjust your bedtime. It may mean that you're not getting enough hours each evening for you or your child, whoever's suffering with that. The other thing is that you may be exposing yourselves to too much blue light throughout the day, but especially in the evening before your body is trying to settle down and increase those levels of melatonin so that you can go into a natural born sleep. And all of these things, guys, when you are not getting enough sleep, directly is related, and health professionals will back this up, with the increase in diabetes as well as heart issues, because you're putting so much strain. And cortisol, guys, I'm a I don't have heart disease, but I do have issues with my heart, as a lot of you guys already know. And that can be directly related to the fact of me having high levels of cortisol and over the years not understanding how important it was to combat that. Now, the other thing that happens is, I mentioned obesity, and some of you are like, how in the world does blue light affect or cause obesity? Well, it's not that it's always the solution or whatever. However, levels of leptin is a thing that's natural in our body, that's prevalent, that allows our bodies to feel full after we eat. And these things decrease leptin. Our levels of leptin, that's a tongue twister, decreases over time from the levels of exposure of the blue light, because of the fact that it's affecting our alertness, and our leptin is created by reaching that rest period. Just going to change this one more time, guys. Blood sugar levels. Sorry, bear with me one sec. My husband just got home too, so I see so much movement outside with the dog and my husband. They're playing. Okay. Blood sugar levels also. Okay, so diabetes, we were talking about. Blood sugar levels increase with interruptions to your circadian, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, rhythms. And these rhythms are decreased by overexposure of the blue light, and also the interruption in our sleep patterns. And so what happens is the doctors are seeing a lot of increased levels, and they've done a lot of research on this as well, studies, that our blood sugar levels will increase. And so they're seeing a lot of pre-diabetic cases coming forward, and that's really, really scary. But also on the plus side, on the upside, is the fact that decreasing that exposure can really decrease you and your loved ones' likeliness of getting that type of disease. Now, of course, there's all other things, proper diet and things like that, which I won't go into in this series because I talked about that before, but I will maybe do a mini series on that, because I do have some personal clients and family members who have been able to combat diabetes just by changing some lifestyle, inputting some lifestyle changes. Now, lastly, some research shows that there's actually a link between some cancers, and this is also directly related to lower melatonin levels. And that just blew my mind when I read that. Like, the research that I've done, I couldn't find, they didn't want to name specific types of cancer that this is directly related to, but they are linking, and they're still ongoing. This is kind of preliminary research that they're doing, and they are seeing an increase in certain types of cancers that also show in those levels of cancer that the levels of melatonin are low. And so if you have the ability to reduce your blue light exposure, increase your sleep level, and increasing your melatonin, you could very well be allowing your body to be able to combat these particular types of cancers that they're looking into. Of course, it's not a fail-proof or foolproof, whatever they say, fail-safe, I guess, foolproof. But it definitely is, the proof is there that they are looking into that and that they are seeing some changes there. So all of these things, I just wanted to give you guys this information to not feel like doom and gloom, like, oh my goodness, I'm being exposed to all of these things, but also to bring your awareness to it. It's not so much doom and gloom, but there is hope. Some things, like I said, are not going to be able to, like the degeneration of our eyes is not going to be, the pre-aging is not going to be able to be undone. Unfortunately, if we already have that damage done, it's irreversible. And that's very sad, especially where we're seeing that happen in children because of the screen time that they're getting between their computer gaming, their gaming, like Xboxing. My son's one of those who's down there doing it right now while we speak together. But all of those things, and then the videos that they're watching on computers and their mobile devices and all these things, and the fact that their eyes are still growing and getting strong. It's really scary that we are unknowingly allowing this overexposure to them, and the fact that it's doing irreversible damage. That's very, very scary and disheartening, especially knowing that it's unable, but the resolution is here. Let's stop it right away and start minimizing that screen time for our families as well as for ourselves, and start spreading the word, because I think that's really important. So having said that, if you haven't invited somebody to join us here in this mini series, I encourage you to do that. Share the video if you feel inclined to do that as well. It is set to public, so it should share well. And if not, you can catch, those of you who are joining us on YouTube, you can catch the link there as well. But that's all I have for you guys today. Tomorrow, we're going to be, like I said, diving in at the exact same time, 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, into the different tips that I'm going to be providing you with to decrease that exposure and start healing some of those effects that you've already been incurring, as well as then on Sunday for our final wrap up. It's going to be day 4. You'll be joining me here at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'll be providing you with other alternatives, healthy choices, and things that you can do, physical things that I'm going to be actually able to show you and tell you how to do on your computers and your mobile devices to help decrease that, as well as your televisions, and also some devices and cool things that you can purchase to help save your family. To, like for those of us who, as an accountant, I was exposed to a computer ongoing, like 8+ hours a day. So if you are in that boat, there is hope for you too. And I know that it's really hard sometimes to minimize things. And so in those cases, we're going to be providing you with the alternative options to help protect your eyes as much as possible and decrease exposure that way as well. So we're going to get into all of that in the next 2 days, guys. I thank you so much for joining me here today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Drop a comment in the bottom. First, drop value if you found value in this. And if you had a top aha moment or a top takeaway, I encourage you to do that. Feel free to tag people in the comments as well if you feel that they need to see this video. And ultimately, let's get you guys feeling better. As I'm working through it with my own family, I want to work through this with your guys' family as well. And I thank you so much for inviting me into your homes. And again, for all my Canadian family and friends watching, I wish you guys a very happy Thanksgiving. Take care, guys.